All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. I want you to imagine something you probably do every single evening without even a second thought, right? The sun goes down, it starts getting dark, and you just reach out and flip a light switch. Boom. Instantly, your room is flooded with this brilliant illumination. It's so incredibly normal to us, it's almost invisible. But today, we're going to contrast our brilliantly lit modern evenings with the stark, frankly intimidating reality of our ancient ancestors. We're going to explore how this one tiny modern convenience has entirely overwritten thousands of years of human biology.
Because here's the crazy thing. For 99.9% of human history, that magic light switch simply didn't exist. Before the modern era, when the sun set, the world went completely dark. I mean, literally, couldn't see your own hand in front of your face kind of dark. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half of their entire lives in near total darkness. There were no screens, no street lamps, not even candles for the vast majority of that time. It was just the black sky, the stars above, and, well, whatever fire they could manage to scrape together and keep alive.
Which brings us to part 1, the world before artificial light.
Before we learned to conquer the dark, things were actually pretty terrifying. Human eyes are terrible compared to predators like leopards, hyenas, wolves. The night belonged entirely to them. Moving around after sunset, that basically just meant becoming food. But then, roughly a million years ago, the discovery of fire changed that survival equation literally overnight. A roaring campfire creates this circle of safety, roughly 30 feet in diameter. Inside that circle, you're safe. The predators just won't come near the flames. But outside that circle, you die. Now, fire didn't just give us protection. It gave us something totally revolutionary. It gave us extra time. Suddenly, we had 2 to 4 extra usable hours added to every single day, stretching the evening out way past sunset.
So what do we do with that time? Let's look at part 2, fire and human culture.
To figure out how this newly discovered extra time fundamentally changed us, anthropologist Wiessner spent years recording the conversations of the Kalahari Bushmen. They're one of the last groups on Earth still living a lifestyle that closely resembles our original ancestors, and she found a really stark contrast. During the day, 80% of their conversations were strictly practical, logistics, who's hunting where, what plants are ready to forage. Daytime talk was entirely focused on work and survival. But at night, gathered around the fire, the whole character of human interaction shifted. 81% of nighttime conversations were stories. We're talking myths about the origins of the world, tales of distant places, jokes that brought the whole camp together. The campfire basically became the original theater. It's literally where human culture, imagination, and our ability to think beyond the immediate present were born. But the night wasn't just about storytelling. That brings us to part 3, the forgotten second sleep.
Back in 2001, historian Roger Ekirch published this totally groundbreaking paper. He had spent 16 years digging through centuries of historical records, diaries, court records, medical texts, even Homer's Odyssey. And he found a pattern of human behavior that modern society had completely 100% erased from memory. Before the industrial age, this 3-step process was just the normal way every human on the planet slept. They didn't sleep in one continuous 8-hour block like we desperately try to do today. Nope. Sleep was biphasic, meaning they went to bed shortly after sunset and slept for about 4 hours. Then they woke up for 1 to 2 hours of quiet wakefulness right in the middle of the night. Finally, they'd go back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. Now, here's the kicker. This wasn't considered a sleep disorder. It wasn't insomnia. This was simply how human beings slept.
During this midnight gap, which they often called the watch, people didn't lie in bed panicking about being awake. They embraced it. There's actually a 16th century doctor's manual that advised that the best time to study, reflect, and really think was during this exact window. People used this time to go visit their neighbors, write by candlelight, maybe interpret their dreams while they were still fresh, or just lie in the dark and reflect. It was a dedicated, built-in period of peace in an otherwise chaotic world.
And believe it or not, this wasn't just a cultural quirk. Let's get into part 4, the science of ancient sleep.
Science eventually proved that this historical record is deeply biological. In 1992, a psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr at the National Institute of Mental Health wanted to see what would happen if modern humans were plunged back into ancient conditions. So he took a group of volunteers, completely removed all artificial light from their lives, and gave them 14 hours of darkness every single night for a month. The results? Absolutely astonishing. Totally unprompted, every single participant naturally reverted right back to that exact historical split sleep pattern. But here is the most incredible part of the whole study. When Wehr measured their hormones during that middle-of-the-night wakeful period, he found elevated levels of prolactin. That is the exact same hormone released during deep meditation. The volunteers weren't just awake, their brains were unlocking a totally distinct state of consciousness. They described feeling incredibly peaceful and reflective. It's a state of mind that most of us modern humans literally never get the chance to experience.
So, what happened to it? Part 5. How we lost the night.
If this natural, incredibly peaceful state is hardwired right into our biology, we have to ask, what killed it? Well, for most of history, the night was something to be feared. Medieval towns would literally ring a curfew bell, which actually comes from the French couvre-feu, meaning cover fire, signaling everyone to plunge their homes into darkness. Walking around at night back then was highly suspicious. But then in the 1600s, cities like Paris started installing street lamps to fight crime. Fast forward to the 1800s, gas lamps made light cheaper. And finally, in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb. In just a few short centuries, humanity completely conquered the dark. And in doing so, we entirely wiped out a 300,000-year-old biological rhythm.
Which brings us straight to the root of our modern sleep crisis. The big problem today is that your biological hardware is ancient. It honestly doesn't know the difference between the actual blazing sun in the sky and the glowing screen of your smartphone at 11 p.m. When that artificial light hits your retina late at night, your brain genuinely, truly believes it is still daytime.
And because your brain thinks it's daytime, it directly messes with your production of melatonin. That's the crucial hormone that regulates your sleep cycles. Think about it today. The average person is exposed to artificial light for 7 to 8 hours after sunset. By soaking in all that blue light from our TVs, our phones, LED bulbs, we are chemically suppressing our own melatonin production. We're delaying its release, we're fragmenting our own rest, and we are actively fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming.
But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Let's look at part 6, reclaiming our ancestral rhythm.
The good news here is we don't have to throw away our light bulbs and go live in a cave to fix this. We can actually use these fascinating historical and scientific lessons to deliberately construct a much healthier modern evening routine. So here's your actionable guide to reclaiming that ancestral rhythm. First, you've got to aggressively reduce your exposure to blue screen light after sunset. Just dim the lights in your house to signal to your ancient brain that the day is actually ending. Second, if your sleep is truly broken, consider going camping for a week with absolutely zero artificial light. Seriously, researchers have found that just 1 week out in nature resets your melatonin cycle by a full 2 hours. It lets your body produce it at sunset like it's supposed to. And third, we need to completely reframe how we view waking up in the middle of the night. If you wake up at 2 a.m., stop checking your phone and stressing about your alarm clock. Use that time exactly how our ancestors did. Use it for quiet reflection, for letting your mind wander, and for finding just a little bit of peace in the stillness.
Because what if waking up in the dark isn't a malfunction at all? So the next time you find yourself staring up at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wide awake while the rest of the world is silent, I really want you to consider that maybe your body isn't broken. Maybe, just maybe, it's a 300,000-year-old memory resurfacing. Your body is simply trying to give you back a lost piece of human consciousness, a dedicated time for peace, reflection, and quiet in a world that is otherwise constantly demanding your attention. It's time to embrace the watch.